It feels less cold when you're saying that it's the cold open, because then it's just the open at that point, is it?
Yeah. It's a lukewarm open.
The lukewarm open, and that's introducing our first guest, Lukewarm. Here they are.
Yay!
They're doing good. How are you, Luke? Oh, I'm all right, thanks. Thanks for having me here.
I'm warm.
Yeah, I'm warm. Yeah, thanks, Luke. I'm glad you didn't decide to do a voice. No, me too. I didn't know what I wanted to do. So yeah, good. Nice to have you here, Luke. But Luke, that's enough from you, because we're going to get into the actual show, which is the Insert Disc5 corner. And I want to know, like, are we like, because we've changed the name.
Yes. Surprise.
Yeah.
Maybe you didn't notice when you clicked on the video, but we've changed the name.
But yeah, it's are we in the corner? Like, is the corner a state of mind or a place, or what?
A corner is a state of mind.
State of mind.
It's because if it was a place, then it wouldn't feel cozy. A corner's cozy. You know, when you have your reading corner, you have your game corner and all of that. This is the Insert Disc5 corner. Come into the corner. We have some armchairs. We have a nice rug. We have some drinks. Just sit there.
All the stuff.
Yeah.
We got it all. We got whatever
we got everything. We got everything.
So, before we get into it, how are you, Adrienne? What have you been up to? What's going on?
I have been preparing some talks, as we've discussed privately before. But yeah, I'm one thing that I wanted to do this year is that I wanted to do more talks in general, because I love to yap and I love to talk about stuff and hopefully help people make their own stuff later. So yeah, I've been there are 2 talks that I'm planning to do in the next couple of weeks, and I realized this weekend that I was like, I'm not as ready for those talks as I thought I was going to be. So I had to do it very quickly in the last 2 days, where I was like, oh my God, I need to add more things. And I actually know much more than I thought. So I need to actually write all that stuff down. So I did it. So now we're good. And hopefully those talks, that way, if anyone, maybe a school, wants to invite me to give talks, they're ready. I have them. I can give them.
Hey.
Exactly.
Reach out. Schools.
Reach out. Exactly. Because also something that also happened recently is that many years ago I did a kind of a reference thing where it's like, hey, here's how you can make some nice paneling for your comics. And so I posted it on Tumblr many years ago, and it got, now it's like an incredible amount of notes and likes, and every so often it's like, oh my God, I didn't know that was a thing. Oh, I'm learning so more about panels, blah blah blah. And so when I see like that it's starting to pick up speed again, I try to reblog it to be like, oh yeah, this is a thing I've been doing, in case you didn't know. And maybe very often people are like, wait, you made this? I've been using this so much. This was so helpful, which is great. And then I also see more people that I thought saying, oh, I've studied this exact image in school. My professor showed this at school. And I'm like, well, you need to tell me those things, because I would like the ego boost. I don't want to get paid or anything. I don't credit it. It's all good. Whatever. I mean, I would like to be, but it's not like, this is mostly about, I want the ego boost. That's how you can pay me for having taught you something good. Please, give me the ego boost. So I've been getting the ego boosts in the notes. So that was really great. But yeah, so preparing talks. I also, doing some illustrations for True Scrapper, that I'm very, very, very happy with those. I kind of cooked with those, so
nice.
I hope people are excited. And I've been playing Fields of Mystria a lot.
Yes, this is a thing a number of people I know have been playing a lot. So yeah, you're not alone in that. I've been told, a very good friend of mine, actually I can just say, Candice, who works at Strange Scaffold, who's the studio producer there, has a number of times been like, this game's great. And their description of it was like, it takes the Stardew Valley, but for them, removed so many points of friction that they didn't even realize were necessarily points of friction until they were playing this and were like, oh, I don't have to do that thing. This is just easier now. All right, great. Like,
yeah, exactly. Like, it's such... I have my personal problems with with how wholesome it is. I feel like it is. Every single one of those characters has gone to therapy, and so
they've done the full, and they've gone to therapy, and they've completed therapy.
They've completed therapy. They got the diploma in therapy,
wow.
And so that
Good
means that there's no interpersonal like drama happening, except for one character, March, who is the tsundere one. And this is why, for the longest time, people kept, like, because at some point the developers, like, were like, okay, here's, like, the chart, like, some stats of how many people gave gifts, who were you giving the most gifts to, fans, blah, blah, blah. And I think he's got, like, 30% of all gifts. Because he's the one that you're trying to win over, because the other ones already like you. But, you know, I honestly could talk for hours about how I don't personally like the way that it's so wholesome. It doesn't have interpersonal drama. But at the same time, I've played 100 hours. So who cares?
You're leaving the best negative Steam review that we all love to see. It's like 100 hours. This game is terrible.
This sucks. This sucks so much. I have 100 hours in it. Yeah, it's great, and I really,
lots
really
of
like
elements.
it. Oh my god, yeah. But and so they finally added marriage to the game.
Yes, because it's 1.0 now, right? Like
it is 1.0 now. So before you could only get like 8 hearts with all of the characters that you wanted, and then for 10 hearts we couldn't get you 10 hearts, but that's the marriage.
Yeah.
But what have been it's one of my favorite gaming moments of the year so far is the marriage portion of it, because so far, I think it's so fun. It's so lovely. Because before that, you can date as many characters as you want. And this is very much in the game. They tell you, hey, it's a cultural thing. No one actually cares. Like, you can just date. Like, no one will even mention it to
exists.
You.
Like,
it's just dating. Who cares is what they were saying. So I was dating three of the dudes. The traveling one, Balor, the spoiler one, who's an ageless being type of guy, and then I was like,
the ageless being, yeah, of course.
Don't worry about the ageless being.
I was going to say, I guess that's the spoiler,
not?
But like, but there's an ageless being.
There's an ageless being somewhere.
We all know one.
Yeah, so he was the first one that I dated, and then I was like, you were great when I wasn't dating you, and now every time I talk to you, you're like, what a wonder it is to be sharing my life with you. And did you know?
Not for you.
And so I have made a little something for you. I have put 2 slices of bread and put a thin slice of ham in the middle. I have heard this is called a sandwich. I hope you like it. And I'm like, born sexy yesterday, but for a man, how progressive. I actually like that, but I'm bored.
But still, yeah.
But still, I don't, this is not who I want to be spending my life with. So I went with the traveler guy, and I was like, seems like he has a complicated past.
Oh, really?
Maybe he's morally gray of some. He's not. And also when I talk to him, he also blushes every time. He's also like very calm and kind of stoic, and maybe a little bit like joking type of guy. And then as soon as you date him, he looks at you and he's like, "Oh, hi," and I'm like, "Who are you? I don't like that."
Be you. Why are you different now?
Stop blushing when you see me. This is not cute.
You didn't before. Like,
you didn't before.
I assumed you liked me
I want you to stay normal. And also, one thing to know is that I don't like playing as myself in those types of games, because it makes me uncomfortable. I have actually found out that this is something that happens to a lot of players.
Yeah.
Is that they feel uncomfortable being put in the game. Anyway, so the character that I'm playing is Mima, a grandmother, an old lady, which is very funny because in that game they do not expect you to be old. They're just like, there is in your 20s or 30s, because every time they're like, "Oh, you're so young," I'm like, "No, I'm playing as a 70-year-old. I'm not.
I'm not ageless. I am the aged being.
I have white hair. Yeah. Okay. And so the oldest character outside of the ageless being, the oldest character you can date is this farm man who has like white hair at his temples, and I was like, well, I should go for him. And so I dated him, and he does not blush when you talk to him. He's just very gentle, very nice. It was great. So I was like, I'm gonna marry this one. Yes. And so the way that it works is that you have to forge a ring and give it to whoever you intend to be marrying, so you can talk about your future and figure out, is this who you want to be with? Because after that, you can propose and actually say, actually, I want to think about it a bit more.
Yeah, actually, maybe not.
Actually, maybe not.
Do you? Nah.
Actually, nah. I just gave you the ring. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, don't worry about it. That was just for fun.
Yeah, and so exactly, and so I was like, oh, we can talk about our future? That's so nice. And so you don't actually talk about your future. It's just that he's like, you're like my family, and it's so great to be with you. I can't wait to find out what our lives are going to be like. And you can say, actually, I don't want to know, so whatever. But I was like, that's really nice. I'll marry you. Sure. And then I was like, but what about the other two guys I'm dating? How's that? How's the game going to resolve
good point.
that?
What are you going to do with that? Because I know, like in Baldur's Gate, if you start going with someone else at the same time, there is like, it'll be different for different characters, but there's something like you'll go to the other character and they're like, what?
And
like,
so at this point, I start talking to every other character in the village, and all of them are like, oh my God, you're proposed. It's so nice. That. This is lovely. No dialogue like that for the two that I was dating. So I was like, I can't even break up with them. Like, what's happening? What's going to happen? And then you go to sleep. And so you go to, there is. That's what I really like. You go to sleep, you wake back up, and you get I got 2 letters, which are like.
Letters? Shit, that's serious.
Maybe we should be better off as friends. Maybe we mistook that feeling for love, but
wait. Why are you breaking up with me?
Yeah, right. I was like, wait, you're breaking up with me? I don't understand. I should break up with you. You're too nice. Hold on. That's
no.
Why are you doing the emotion? I'm so sorry that I'm making you do the emotional labor. Anyway, both of those letters are really well written for each character. They each really have like their very nice reasons for breaking up with you. Yeah. It's like, I hope we can still stay friends. And I was like, wow, that's a lot. Anyway, I do my things. I go and talk to them, and they're like, Meemaw, because that's how I've been calling myself, Meemaw. I just received my letter. Yeah, and I'm like, yeah. They're like, yeah, it kind of says everything. I hope you can understand. And so then, it's really nice. And then you get two choices. You can either say, yeah, of course, I completely understand. I'm on the same page. Like, don't worry, we can still be friends. Or you can get, well, this is taking me completely by surprise. I don't I'll accept it, but this is a surprise. Like, I don't. And I'm like,
see this coming, even though I'm getting married to this guy.
Yeah. So I don't really.
And you know that.
It felt like there was a breakup mechanic.
Yeah.
And then they didn't add it. Or maybe I didn't find it, which is also possible.
Maybe they're like, what's the coziest way for this to get wrapped up? And it's just like that they nicely break up with you.
Yeah, it's like they're like, it's not me. Like, it's not me, it's you. Well, that's the truth, but it's not you, it's me. That's how they're playing it.
Yeah.
But I really,
it's you.
But I really like that. I thought that was lovely. And then really quickly, the marriage happens, and then my guy had like a maid of honor, and then another character who was there, who's his pet hen, Henrietta, like,
great.
Which is great.
Yeah.
So which means that I have 2 characters that are my men of honor, maid of honor, which were the 2 characters that I hit 8 hearts with first, which are my 2 exes.
That's so weird. And here, of course, are my best buds, who literally this morning broke up with me. And
and
in a nice way.
It was so like I loved that. Like and nothing happens out of that. They don't even talk to you. Like they never mention again that you have dated.
It just doesn't come up. They're just like,
it just doesn't come up. Yeah,
we're cool.
But just the fact that they put so much into this marriage mechanic and into breaking up with them, and it becomes like this is a big event, because you can set the date of the wedding, and then you have a couple days where like your fiance comes up to you and is like, all right, now we got to figure out what we're going to offer to people for food. And you're like, oh my God,
We got to figure that out?
we are making this marriage a thing.
Yeah.
This is not just a little cutscene and there you go.
Yeah, that's what I was imagining.
This is an arc. So I thought that was really, really great. And that so far that's my gaming moment of the year.
There we are.
My game is not going to have marriage, but
no, it's not. But you know,
so complimentary.
We'll get into that. But yeah, so I guess moving on into kind of the topic of the show this week.
Yeah. I went into the whole tangent of good games I've been playing. You guys should play Field of Mystery. It's good.
Yeah, I mean, people should, from what I hear. But like, what we're here to talk about though is why do you keep making games that deal with memory? Because you've got two now. Like you've got In Stars and Time with time loops and everything like that, and then you got Truth Scrapper, which is coming up, which is someone can't remember something after a day and they can only write down 3 things so they can remember it and stuff like that. So why is that? Why'd you keep doing that? What's that all about?
Well, the memory thing in Stars and Time, spoilers, it wasn't so much about the memory, but it was more that it was a metaphor for the loss of culture and the not knowing where you truly belong. Maybe like I'm thinking of the word is escaping me right now. Diaspora. There we go. Like the whole diaspora thing, and losing memory was to me more of a metaphor for losing the place you come from and maybe not being able to go back. And how do you struggle with all of that? And yeah, the whole thing around the country that Sifrin comes from that they can't go back to, I really thought that adding the fact that he can't even remember it, like it was something that I really wanted to explore, and it wasn't so much amnesia, but it was more about the loss of culture, and it's being represented by the loss of memory. Yeah, and there's like also a bit with memory in Stars and Time where Sifrin can't help but remember the time loop parts of it, though. So everything that has to do with the time loop, Sifrin weirdly has perfect memory in terms of like what happens during the time loop, and how that kind of becomes a curse. So for Sifrin, there's the curse of not remembering where they come from, and there's the curse of remembering more than people around him do, and how that would feel, and how you feel like you're kind of out of everything because of that, because it's kind of the feeling of like, oh, do you remember that one time? Oh yeah, you don't remember because that was in a previous loop, so I'm gonna have to really
that time basically didn't happen, except
only
it didn't, for me.
It didn't happen. It only happened for me. So did it really happen? How important are those memories? Like, how important are memories? And I don't really have like an answer. This is more of like a philosophical question. How important are memories?
Be surprised if you answered it. Like,
memories.
If it was like you gave a definitive, just because that is an interesting thing, and also
it is.
The older you get, the more you realize that your memories will not line up with other people's memories, and you're like, but I remember it this way, and they're like, I don't, and it's like,
exactly.
But then what one's true? Like, yeah. So
and so that's why for Truth Scrapper, I had the idea just in the first place of, oh, there's a girl and she does, like, I actually reread my old notes as I was getting into the original notes. And so I had the idea, okay, there's going to be a woman and she is not going to be able to remember anything about herself, and every day she's not going to remember anything. And so how does that work? How do you deal with that? And so at some point I was like, okay, but that's going to be so difficult from like a storytelling perspective and a gameplay perspective if she really doesn't remember anything every day, which is why I figured out like the scrapbook idea, where it's like, okay, she remembers only what she's written down. And actually, something I didn't necessarily... Well, I did it a bit for In Stars in Time, where I was like, I don't really know a certain thing about this, so let me do some research. But for True Scrapper, that's something that I ended up doing a lot. I did a lot of research on how memories work, what kind of amnesia is there. And then over here, actually, this is why I put it here. The body keeps the score. How does the body remember traumatic events compared to the brain? And I've read it.
I've heard about this, but I've
Yeah.
never really
And so
thought about it.
I need to reread it. I have all of my notes here, but I need to go back to all of my bookmarks. But one thing, and so that's why all of this stuff is just fascinating, because our brains... Well, first, when you remember something, like something that happens to you, the way that it works is that you obviously don't remember the memory exactly as it happened. But when you remember something, it's as if you press play and record at the same time. Because you go, oh, well, I remember that time I went to McDonald's and this thing happened and the cashier was kind of mean to me or whatever, blah, 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 blah. But as you remember that memory, you might also go, oh, and it was at... I don't remember exactly which McDonald's it was, but probably it was like any other McDonald's. So let me just put any McDonald's that I've been to and kind of put a layer over it of, it was in a McDonald's that probably kind of looked like this. And then I don't remember exactly what the cashier looked like, but let me imagine my idea of a cashier. So this is probably what they look like. And I don't remember what I was ordering, but if I had to think, it's probably my usual. And so you kind of put all of those little details that weren't actually there. And so you're putting a layer of remembering something else over it. And so that's something I was really interested by, like figuring out... I did that a little bit in Stars in Time, where it's like, does the body remember things that the brain doesn't? And this is why Sifrin, the memories... Every time Sifrin tries to remember their country, it takes... if you just ask them out of nowhere and they're just like, oh, well, just by instinct, let me just answer you some stuff about the culture and blah, blah, blah. But when they realize what they're actually talking about, that's the moment where the universe is like, you can't actually stop thinking. Bye! Memories going away. And part of that is because I had this experience once, which I feel like a lot of people have had, is that I found an old iPod of mine, but it was under a code. And so I was like, what is it's been years. I don't remember the code.
What is this?
Yeah. And so what I ended up doing is that I kind of was like, let me just get back to it every so often and wait until I'm not thinking about it, so that my brain my brain stops and my body takes over and is like, oh, there you go, this is the code. I remember it now. You just do the move that was the code, because your body remembers even if your brain doesn't. And so that's how I ended up actually unlocking it. And the fact that... So that's something that is often in Stars in Time, is that if he's not thinking about it, then he will remember. But if he's thinking about it, then it's not going to happen. Which is also very tragic, because if you're really, really trying to remember something, it's like, well, that's not actually going to happen. And it was just for the tragic part. I thought it was just fun tragedy. But
we love fun tragedy.
And so I really wanted to dig more into that for True Scrapper. And so there's going to be a lot of moments in the game where Sasat gets a certain feeling, maybe about something or someplace or blah, blah, blah. And she doesn't... she might note it, but it's like, well, I have the feeling, but I don't have the context for it. And I thought, and so I'm digging into that a lot. And one idea that I'm trying to figure out if it's too spoilery or if I do actually want to talk about it.
What part?
No, I don't want to talk about it.
Oh, okay.
It's going to be a spoiler, so let's not talk about it. But let me tell you, I have been thinking about it, and I'm just fascinated by it again. And so, that's why I bought this book, which is very specifically about how our bodies handle trauma, and how for most people, if you remember something, you press play and record at the same time. But if someone is trying to remember a really traumatic memory, it will not press record. It will just press play as if they're actually straight up back there. And that's where PTSD comes from. And the body does that in really, really fascinating ways, where it's like, oh, there's really another brain in there. I think I don't remember the exact details, but it's something akin to like, oh, if you had a really traumatic moment that was like at some place that was really cold, your body temperature will go down.
Weird.
Just remembering it, your body temperature will go down. So that kind of stuff where it's like, the brain is so fascinating. So let me tell you, reading stuff about memory and about how our bodies like react and all of that, very scary. I cannot actually read that for very long because otherwise I'll go, we are machines that could break down at any minute.
The part of like the bit that always gets me is I'm like that we don't understand how most of this works. Like spite of the amount of us being ourselves and there being billions of us and us researching it and stuff, that it's just like, well, there's no terminal I can look at and see a program of reactions as to why these things are happening. So it's like,
exactly. And something that I was reading about that also is very scary but also interesting for like when it comes to like medical health, like stuff that happens within our bodies. Like we have done a lot of research on like, oh, I've cut myself. How do I how do you heal someone who has cut themselves? Like, and it happens for every single type of body. It's like, well, you need to disinfect it. You need to put blah, blah, blah. You need to clean it. All that happens for everyone. But when it comes to hurts that are within the mind, like trauma that comes within the mind, we don't yet know enough about the brain to know what is the way to treat specific kinds of trauma. So it's like, well, probably talk about it, but for some people talking about it makes it worse. Well, probably repeat it so that the memory becomes more and more like less and less traumatic. And it's like for some people, it's going to stay in the traumatic place, blah, blah, blah.
Some things you can't repeat. Like some things you're like, well, I'm not going to repeat that. Like,
And so there are some things that work for a lot of people, so they're worth trying, but there's really not one-to-one answer for answering those, which for healing those, which again is really scary but also really interesting. And since I was reading a lot about that, and also because I'm making a game about toxic lesbians, I was like, there's really a lot of obvious things in common with like how the brain works and how memories work and how trauma works, with how abusive people take advantage of the ways that all of those work. And so that's another thing that I've been researching a lot of. How do abusers work and make you and manipulate you? And that also goes into how cults do that, because that's just abuser on a bigger scale. And one thing that I saw like a really long time ago, it was a video, like I think it was a series of video of two dudes, like your most bro-looking dudes that seem like they get up to mischief and they're like, oh, we're just having fun. And so they decide, we're gonna infiltrate the Church of Scientology. And so there's like one that kind of is apart and is like, all right, I'm your mission control. You go and enter, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And so one of those guys, one part of the Scientology thing that, like, so that you can be part of Scientology, is that you have to, like, you go into a room with someone who is part of Scientology, and then the guy filmed the whole thing, so that's how I know.
Yeah.
And so it's like like the lady asked him, can you tell me about a memory that you've gone through that was kind of a memory that is difficult for you to remember? And he picked at random. He was like, I'll just pick like that time I fell off my bicycle and I broke my arm. And so he repeated that memory, and she's like, okay, go over it again. And then he kept repeating the memory, and every so often she was like, okay, like, do you remember if anyone was playing music nearby? What was the song? Do you remember the color of your shirt at that time? Let me know what was that color of your shirt. And so adding more and more of those little details that obviously he couldn't remember.
No.
So he made them up.
Yeah.
And as she was asking all of those questions, sometimes she was like, well, how did you feel at that moment? I think you were feeling kind of like this. And so he's like, and so now repeat it again with that new blah, blah, blah. And so they did that for like, I think it was 8 hours. So he spent 8 hours repeating this memory over and over again, staying in that room. I don't think he was allowed to eat or drink or anything.
Oh, wow. So they're just basically, like programming that memory into you.
Yeah. And so at the end, after that, like, he comes back to his friend after the 8 hours, and the friend filmed the whole thing again. So it's horrifying, but also funny, because the guy's like, I think she did something to me.
Whatever that is, it's in my head now. Like, I don't remember falling off my bike and breaking my arm as a kid in the same way as I did before.
So what happened is that he said, she told me to repeat that memory I had of falling off my bike and breaking my arm, and it was a really spiritual moment where I saw God and Jesus spoke to me or whatever. And the friend is like, no, you were crying like a baby. I was there.
Yeah, like, that bit didn't happen.
Like, no, it wasn't like a spiritual, powerful, beautiful moment.
Yeah.
You broke your arm and you were crying. And so, and even though his friend was telling him this is what happened, I was there, he couldn't remember the original memory because it had been overwritten.
Changed. And like, and they linked, like, because they've taken it as like, what's a very bad thing, and been like, now we've attached this really good thing that I assume we're now going to give you more of.
Yeah, so I don't remember the details, but it was like, oh, wasn't it great that I honestly don't know
in spite of the
Scientology,
bad thing,
but it's like, oh, remember, like, whoever we worship in Scientology, he was there during that moment.
He can help you. Yeah.
So we get to help you. And that's how a lot of cults do. Like, that's a thing that a lot of cults do, is rewriting memories to kind of make you go, well, that was a really beautiful moment, actually. We've brainwashed you.
And also just like taking a bad thing and attaching that to the very good thing that someone's going to give you more of. And that would that create a thing where you're like, I will accept bad thing happening because I'm also aware that bad thing leads to the good thing. Like,
there's that. And there's also, I think part of it is that, well, yeah, it's awful, but part of it is
just
that
to
I
say,
think
we think that's bad.
Like, this is bad.
Like
by the way, I'm fascinated. This is all really bad, by the way.
Yeah.
And so I think part of it is that they want you to say probably a worse memory than what he said. Like, if you're someone who has had actually really traumatic stuff happen,
which is who they're trying to get in.
Yeah, and then you tell them this horrible thing, and they transform that bad memory into a good memory, then it's like, oh my God, they can rewrite whatever. They fixed me.
Oh, and that. Yeah, of course.
And this technique, actually, that they used in Scientology and probably in a lot of other cults, this is an actual thing that therapists do to make you better. It's just that they're using it for evil. And this is what a lot of, and I've researched, this is what a lot of cults are doing. They're taking like this thing in psychology that therapists use to make you more healthy, make you feel better. And they're like, this is a great way to manipulate people.
Oh, you can change people's memories and make them
we're
think
molding
what you
their
want.
brain. Yeah, we can make make them trust us and blah blah blah. And so if we make them trust us, then we can do this. Oh, we can. And there's a lot of other techniques. So it's like, oh, we can manipulate. Like, we can. If we bring someone, if we overwhelm someone, like, mentally, like, a lot, like, oh, we tell them to, like, that's why he was staying in that room for 8 hours, like, because this is a very overwhelming, intense thing to happen, and that actually makes the brain way more susceptible to whatever you want it to think. So it's just all good. So I'm putting all of that in the game,
So when you play True Scrapper,
you will have a similar experience, and I will make you part of my cult.
Yes, I didn't know we had one, but as long as it's got a lot of money, why not?
This is what the InsertDisc5 corner really is. It's a cult.
That was the corner
I got
all
you.
along.
Corner, cult, see?
Same thing.
Same thing.
Yeah, we are. Yeah, now we know. We don't mean that for anyone.
We
that
don't
just
mean
takes
that.
just takes like screenshots of text
just
on
to
them.
make it so clear, because I've said it a couple of times, but I need to say it again. We are gonna make like a really in-depth list of content warnings for this game, the same way that we did for In Stars in Time, where we were like, hey, this is in a one-word thing of like a content warning, and then click here and you will have more detail on when this is happening, the details, so you can be prepared and all of that. Because I think
some
it might be. I think some stuff will go down.
You reference the images you've done that were really good. No, there's zero spoilers on what they are, but like every now and again you'll just post something and be like, "Look at this," and I'm like, "Oh no!" Like,
so this one, if that happens,
because I feel like that I've got, because new stuff's being added, so like stuff from the demo that you've seen, like I may have similar opinions as some of you out there sometimes with like the amount I've played. So then you see later stuff, you're like, no, what's this?
How do we get there?
Yeah, that was the other thing, the recent stuff. It's like, how does it get to this?
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
There's a lot in there, but yeah. I'm so thinking of like In Stars and Time as well, because you're saying you did this sort of level of research going into Truth Scrapper. Was there like a similar process for any of the memory elements into that game, or were there any other sort of inspirations for like time loop and the way that worked and things like that?
So the research for In Stars in Time, well, a lot, obviously when it came out that I was making a game about time loops, I had a lot of friends and family say, did you read this book or watch this game or watch this movie or play this game that's about time loop? And I'm like, yeah, I'll add it to the list. So I've played a lot of time loop games. I've watched a lot of time loop movies. I still have not watched, what's the big one? Groundhog Day. That's the only one I haven't watched.
I was going to say that's probably one of the few I have.
I know.
I've seen that one. Used to be on TV.
I did everything else. That's the one where I was like, well, at some point I will, but
it's funny more than it is.
Yeah, that's what I heard. I'm sure it's great. It's just on the list, and now I've gone to something else. So a lot of those, and been taking a bunch of notes on like how are they doing the time loop thing? How are there any like gameplay things that they use with the time? Like one game that I don't think is a good game. However, it was very useful. 12 minutes.
Oh, I don't know. Oh, no, I do know that one. Yeah.
The one with all of the actors in there.
Yeah, I was about to say the one with Will. Yeah, that wasn't. To my tastes, I'm sure there are many people that like it, but to me, I didn't think that was very good.
So it was really bad to me.
Where it went, I was just sort of like,
I knew from the beginning that's where it was going to go. Yeah. I was like, I think that if you're trying to make it,
if this is what you're making me think
this is
now.
The reveal. This is the reveal for sure. I can tell. But it was fascinating from the point of view of someone who's making a time loop game, because so for those who don't know, 12 minutes, you are one guy, you are in your apartment, your wife is like, I have some news for you, I'm pregnant, and then you're like, yeah, whatever, and then someone comes in, like, what's the word, like someone who comes in, the guy comes in and
an intruder?
There we go, that's the word.
There you go.
An intruder comes in, he kind of puts you in handcuffs, he puts your wife in handcuffs, he's asking your wife questions, you don't know what's happening, he kills you, you restart the whole evening over again, and it's 12 minutes of like this moment, and so the 12 minutes always loop back, and you're trying to figure out what's happening, and something that I found was really cool is that, so you can fight back against the intruder. And so the first time you do, you're like, eh! And the intruder's like, poof, and then you're good. And then you're dead, and then you restart it. But the second time you do it, you give a slightly harder punch, and then you evade the gun. And then you still get, your ass still gets kicked, blah, blah, blah. But every time you try it, your character gets a little bit farther into the battle, and I don't remember what happens at the end. At some point I was like, I'll look at some other stuff, but that was really, I thought that was really interesting, this part of like, he's actually getting better every time he tries it. There are some other things that you can do that like you can do some horrific things, like you can stab your wife, and it's
which
is you have to stab your wife at some point to kind of you have to do horrible things to your wife to get all of the information, which is part of the reason this game isn't really good. However,
not for me.
I stabbed my wife. I'll say it. I stabbed her.
We all have different things that we enjoy.
Yeah, I was like,
enjoy is the wrong word.
Enjoy. Listen, when I'm researching, I go all out. What happens if I stab my wife?
I am very aware of just the amount that you're like, I need to know what this thing looks like. So I've done all this medical research. It's like,
so you stab your wife. The main character's like, oh my god, I didn't mean to do that. Oh no, but and obviously I did a couple more times just to know what was going to happen. And so every time he gets a little bit more. Anyway, sorry. Just waiting now. All right, you're dead. All right, let's go. Yeah, and so same thing. Really interesting that how like his reactions change the more you do them. And so that was something that I already had in Stars in Time, but I was like, oh, I could go farther because I could add even more. So yeah, like there a lot of research in terms of like time loop stuff. I did some research on fabrics at some point, because there's like one small scene that probably not that many players have seen where Isabeau, the fans have seen it. Isabeau,
the real ones.
Yeah, the real ones know. Isabeau looks at Sifrin's cape and is like, oh, well, your cape, it's made with this kind of technique. It's made with this kind of sewing, blah, blah, blah. And I knew that I wanted to say a scene that was like that, where it's like Isabeau is really looking at how the cape was made and how it was gonna, like, and what that meant. Like, was it a different culture? What does that, like, why would you do this type of sewing instead of another? Or blah, blah, blah. And I was like, but I don't know any kinds of sewing. So I'm going to have to do a little bit of research on fabrics, on sewing, on texture. So thankfully, my mom is very much versed into that kind of stuff. So I was like, can you give me some reference? Because I don't know. So this is why I added some of that stuff. Like I learned about backstitching. I was like, okay, great. I can put backstitching in them. And it sounds like I know what I'm talking about.
That will make me think that. Makes me think that now. I'm like, I know nothing about it. So I'm like, backstitching.
Yeah, it's a word I don't know. And that's all I kind of remember. But I know I did a lot of like small bits of research on like a lot of things.
Yeah, with what you were referencing before, like when you were sort of like, oh, I can go a little further with this idea, like that you do so. What were those parts in, or like what were the parts of the game? Because I think we can get into spoilers of In Stars and Time.
For In Stars and Time, yeah.
What were the parts of the game that you were like, oh, I could push this a little further actually, and like this like doing this sort of a loop and doing this thing in a loop could be extended. Like, what were the parts that were like that?
I think just in general, because for most events, there's at least 3 different variations, which is like when it happens the first time, when it happens the second time, and when it happens the third time. And then maybe there's a little bit more where it's like if it happens more and whether you're in which act you're in. But there were a couple where I was like, well, I could go a lot farther with this event or this event because I feel like that's interesting to explore. Like I'm thinking there's an event where Sifrin keeps bumping against a specific counter, and every time has kind of a different reaction, which kind of is like, oh well, that kind of hurts, and then oh well, that's annoying now. Every time I keep bumping into this goddamn like counter. I have to destroy this counter. So that was one of the examples where I was like, oh, I could really push this more and more because it's interesting and it's fun. I don't actually have in mind any specific examples that I had where I wanted to push it more because that's something I did. I probably did it in so many places that I can't think of one in general. Yeah. But yeah, like I have the one example where I actually was like, I need to push it more here. Like I can't push it farther. I have to kind of rein it in. And I think I mentioned this during, maybe I didn't. I mentioned it a bunch of times. It's a at some point you can unlock a knife for Sifrin to use to loop back easier. And
Yes, I think you may have mentioned it, but go on.
Yeah, and so that's the moment where you can decide, oh, well, the easiest way to loop back is just to kill yourself. And so Sifrin does, and it's very much a moment where Loop is like, are you sure? Like, you're gonna kill yourself? Like,
that's definitely gonna work, is it?
Like, that's definitely gonna work, but like, that's different than just dying in battle or anything. This is like a conscious decision. Are you sure this is your body? Blah blah blah. And then if you insist, then you actually do get it. But I had one of the playtesters tell me that they didn't think I was actually gonna do it. That this was actually gonna be the end of this scene if you continue to push, and so was really taken aback and I think a bit triggered by it, which is completely fair. So I was like, so I added a bit more of like, hey, I'm not kidding, for real though, yeah. I'm gonna go there. Are you sure you want to say yes to this? You can say no, and that's fine. Actually, for this exact same event, that's another bit of research that I did, where I was like, so if you have a knife, where do you have to stab yourself to die the fastest way possible? Which are always fun thing to type on Google.
Yeah, I bet.
And then I ended up finding out, and I was like, yeah, I'll write that in a lot of detail. And then like a couple weeks later, I was like, so I don't think I will. I don't think this is the best idea I've ever had.
I didn't know you then. Like, I didn't like, but I was like, were I that would have been, if you were saying I'm doing this, I might have been like,
like, are we sure this is the kind of info we want to put out there?
Yeah,
are we sure we want to be this specific about what happens if you stab yourself in a specific place? It just feels
like something that just shouldn't be just in a video game.
Like, so I ended up not putting it in there, but and because that was kind of the thing where I was like, I want it to be upsetting, and then I thought about it and I was like, well, it's going to be upsetting without this.
And also you're like,
I think we're good.
Not that upsetting.
Like, yeah. But it's all like, I feel like that's something that I don't know if I would say that I struggle with it. It's that it's hard for me to realize sometimes when I'm getting too upsetting with the way that I tell things.
If you have to go in or anything, but like, I find if you yourself have not been through something,
that's exactly
you don't know what is bad about, or because you haven't been through it, you're sort of like, oh, well, I can talk about it. It doesn't bother me.
It's fiction. It's all fiction.
Yeah.
And then you're like, well, no.
triggering me in any way. And then it's like, well, yeah, no, because you haven't been through that. So
yeah, exactly. So so that's something that I try keeping in mind when I write something that's upsetting. I'm like, all right, let's have I given enough hint that this was where the story was gonna go, and
don't just want this to
so
happen
that
out of nowhere necessarily.
Yeah, so that people can be prepared. Like, it's kind of the equivalent of in horror movies. Like, there's usually like a bit of like, they don't do jump scares out of nowhere.
Yeah, they set the scene to get you in the mood for like, oh,
and they do jump scares where the jump scare is going to happen when there's silence.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, something's about to go down. Like,
and when the scene is starting to become a little bit too silent, the jump scare is coming in the next couple seconds.
Yeah.
And so I kind of want to, like, I'm trying to do a bit of the same thing where it's like, it's getting a little silent in there. Have you noticed?
You notice it's getting a bit more serious than previously it was. Like, yeah, that makes sense. And it's it's an interesting thing just because it's like, and it sounds like with both of these, it was just sort of like it was a thing that you were like, I find these concepts interesting. Like, I find these concepts interesting to do. And like, this is is memory and stuff, like, particularly in fiction or anything like that you're super into? Or is it just a concept for creative writing and storytelling that you find compelling? Or both. It can be both.
I actually would say the reverse is that I don't actually, like, I'm thinking of fan fiction in general. Like, an amnesia plot in fan fiction, I avoid every time.
Yeah, they can be samey, I've found. Like, I know it from anime as well.
Well, it's not that. It's not that it's samey. I I think there's a part of it that makes me very uncomfortable. Like the idea of not remembering anything is, well, it's very scary. And it makes me uncomfortable. And I think that's part of why I'm trying to explore what it would be like. And on a certain level, it's like when I touch upon like complicated or darker subjects, it's because I do find, like, even though I may not have experienced them in my own life, it's like, well, that would be really scary. And so let me try to understand that better and explore that a bit better so that maybe they can be less scary. Or maybe I'm like, all right, I have written the worst case scenario that I can think of. So I'm prepared. I'm prepared if a cult is going my way. Hopefully I will not be taken in.
Yeah.
Is what we always hope.
Well, we dream. That's why we find out we're in a cult and we didn't know the whole time. Like,
that's kind of the thing that I keep reading about cults, is that it's like, well, the people that get into cults are the people that are like, I would never be taken into a cult. So that's why I'm always like, no, I could be. Because I've got to be prepped. I've got to prepare myself.
I've got to be ready for this. That makes sense. Yeah, it's a fascinating thing. It's like, I know I've lately been doing therapy and like going through a bunch of stuff, and a part of that has been like, oh, do you remember this thing, this like someone saying like, do you remember this thing, and like this being a really important thing, and then having me be like, no, like I don't and that
no
weird
memory.
thing of like, you remember this as an important thing, and for me it's just
not there.
As if it didn't happen, which is always like, that's kind of scary.
And that's another thing about memories.
It involves me.
Yeah. Because that's another thing about memory that I was really fascinated by, is that some traumatic memories can just be really deep in there and you don't even remember them.
And that part of it's fascinating as well, that it's like you can just totally shut something off.
So there's both this part of it where it's like some traumatic memories can be so deep in there that you don't remember them. And then the counterpart, which is like, because when people were starting, like in psychology, we're starting to maybe think about that, then that was kind of at the same time where a lot of people got implanted with false memories.
False memories are an interesting thing as well.
That was also a really interesting thing, because that was a whole thing for a while, I think mostly in America, where I'm paraphrasing a lot because I don't remember that much, but a lot of women went to therapy and then were like, oh, I'm feeling a bit weird about blah 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 blah, and then the therapists were like, well, this is a symptom of being abused. Have you been abused? And they're like, no. They're like, you sure? You don't remember anything about this? And they're like, well, if you're saying that, like, because I think you might have memories that are
making it all logical and stuff as well.
Yeah, and so they're like, well, I guess you're right. I must have deep memories of abuse.
That stuff freaks me out, where the idea that I'm like, because I know I'm the sort of person that would be like,
and I'm too susceptible.
Maybe I could,
same thing.
because if I don't know, but like I could not know, so like maybe it's true. Like,
so there's both the fact that I think it's like there's a lot of discourse on in psychology where there's no such thing as erased memories that you find later, but then you do have proven things where a lot of people are like, well, no, I do have like those memories. They're like, I don't remember them, but they're back in like there. And
but
and so not. Exactly. And so that's the thing with the body, is that you might not remember those traumatic memories, but the body does. And I've been trying to find for a while on like any kind of testimony of people who were saying, oh, this memory just got unearthed. And so I was reading on Reddit. I found a lot of those stories, obviously, but like this one,
the best place to go for any
for any testimony, really. That's like from normal people that have not been interviewed.
Fair, that is like, I'm not gonna get into what I'm doing, but like, that is where I've been looking for stuff as well, because
Yeah.
you're sort of like, is there anyone that's like with a
The
similar
same?
thing? Like,
Yeah.
and like, what? Da, da, da. So yeah, Reddit is good for
Yeah.
that.
And so there was this lady saying that, like, she was an adult, and her stepmother at some point was just like, "Hey, I'm so sorry for everything I made you go through when you were a child." She's like, "I think I've had an
Yeah, I had a great childhood.
I had an all right childhood.
Yeah,
Like,
what?
you weren't super nice, but you, like, it's
I
fine."
get it. Yeah, like,
I don't I don't remember anything in particular, and the stepmother was like, "Yeah, whatever. All right, if you say so. I'm glad you forgive me." And then from that point on, the lady was like, "Oh my God, I remember everything. Actually,
wow.
you're right. You did abuse me to like terrible levels."
Yeah.
And it went from her not, like, from what she was telling, to her not remembering, to her being like,
I
"Oh my
remember
God,
all of it.
yeah,
Oh my God.
this whole thing. You're right. This whole
Yeah.
time." And
Wow.
and I have seen a couple of other testimonies where it just all of a sudden they went from, "I don't remember anything. Like, I don't know what you're talking about." "Yeah, you're right. Oh my God. Oh my God. I remember everything." And then some other lady being like, "Oh, I wasn't abused. However, when someone told me about their own experience of abuse, I started shaking for no reason."
Stuff like that. Yeah, because I've heard of
It's
stuff like
oh
that where
God.
like phobias and things that people can have that are like, you're scared of the ocean or something like that, and then it's like, and you don't know why I'm scared of it, and then there's some memory later that you're like, oh, I nearly drowned, like when
This
I
whole
was a
time.
child, like, but I didn't remember it, like it's sort of a thing.
Yeah. And so I had just started seeing some of those when I was making in Stars in Time, and I was like, this is really interesting.
Yeah.
But whatever. I'm making some other memory stuff. And then when I was making True Scrapper, I was like, I should find this again.
Yes.
Because this is exactly what I'm looking for. The body responding to stuff, even though the brain is like, I think we're good.
It's even in the no, I won't even do spoilers of a demo, because there's probably people that haven't played the demo, but there's even a good bit
but for the demo version, yeah,
like,
I think we can spoil the demo. It'll make people interested.
Thinking of, like, because I think it's right at the end, so I didn't necessarily want to spoil it. Like, it's so I was like, yeah. You should play the demo. But there was a bit that made me think of. I was like, oh, like yeah. That was also the bit when first playing the demo for the first time that I was like, oh, this game's like this.
Yes.
Like,
yeah. I was like, I have to add this bit to the demo because I need people to understand it's not going to be just wholesome.
Yeah, and it's not like terrifying, but it was just a good moment. Yeah, that made me go, we're not having a laugh now. Like, this is a serious thing. And yeah, very good. But yeah, no, that's all fascinating stuff. Like, it's also interesting, and a part of what we want to do here is kind of look at how you make things and kind of draw those lines, like between and around things, everything like that. Because we've mentioned in Stars and Time and True Scrapper, but like, those aren't the only games you've made as well. Like, there's still the other games as well that like we'll get into and stuff over time. But we'll wrap up in a bit. But like, I was just wondering how True Scrapper's doing, like how development's coming along. Like, obviously without spoilers for stuff, but like, how's it all coming along for you? Like, because the demo's available, and like, if you haven't played that, check it out. But more happens from that, and the demo is like its own thing, if I'm correct.
It's some bits and pieces of days in the full game, but like in a self-contained quote unquote like demo. So the playtesters so far that have played the demo and that are now playtesting the full game, they didn't go, well, I have to skip all of this because that was in the demo.
That's it. Like, that was kind of the thing I was thinking, because it's like, if you play the demo, you're not then spoiling the game for yourself in a way.
No.
Great. Yeah, it's not like you just played chapter 1 or something like that, where you just go like, oh, I've done this bit. Cool. But yeah, how is the game coming along? Because you do blogs, like, people can see that, like, but like, what's kind of the latest?
Really
How's
good.
it going?
So right now I am finishing Amour's ending. I should be done in the next couple of weeks. Nice. And then I'm gonna do a couple of weeks after that of edits, where I'm gonna replay I don't think I have the courage to replay the whole game. I think I'm just gonna replay a Moore's ending to figure out if I need to do anything. I have added a new playtester to my list of playtesters, which is one of my friends who is a programmer and UI designer, which means it was really funny because he was like, "Oh, the story came in, he sat down, and he was like, well, that menu doesn't look very good. But the story's great." I was like, all right, thanks. Thank you. I'll take it.
Yeah, well, it's the exact feedback you want, right? Like, because it's like,
it is.
You want to hear like, the bit I specifically did that I think I'm good at, like,
oh yeah,
yay. But like the bit that you're an expert in that you could give me advice in, you're like, oh, here's all these problems. You're, oh, great, because like,
yeah,
please find all the problems.
So, what was hard to take in is that a lot of the stuff that he noticed, well, not a lot, I would say half of the stuff that he noticed, I was like, I did notice it too, but I put it in the I will not fix it pile. But since you mentioned it again, I have to put in. Yeah,
I hate that. I do that all the time. Where like even in videos and stuff, I'm like, there's some little problem with it, and I'm just like, oh, is anyone even really gonna notice?
It doesn't matter.
The minute I think that though, like I'd say 50% of the time, I at least try to go, they will, because you know the minute you send this to someone, they're gonna go, there's that problem, and you go, yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Like, change it.
So I've added those back to the list. He's also very much a math guy, and at some point I mentioned ciphers, and he was like, well, how complicated is your cipher? And I'm like, oh, it's just
this is like a code, right? Like a cipher.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, a code. And I had like, I'm showing what the code looks like, and he was like, so does that actually translate to any, like, can I solve this cipher? And I was like, yeah, it's just like ROT13, the one that people use when they want to spoiler things on social media, where people, okay, so so that's what I told him, is that when I don't think people do it that often anymore, but if people on social media want to talk about like the latest episode or whatever, and they don't want to spoil it to people, then there's like ROT13. I think it stands for rotation 13. Okay. It just puts like 13 letters later, and it replaces the letter.
Oh, right, okay. So if you just take it and 13 letters back on everything, you're going to get all the information, right?
Yeah, exactly. And there's just a website that does that for you, where you just paste.
Just copy and paste it. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Sweet. And so I was like, it's just ROT13, and he's like, well, that's not a multitude of ciphers, is it? That's not even one cipher. This is just a replace. And I was like, you're right, but can you suspend? Would it be okay if you suspended?
Go with me on it.
Yeah, would it be okay if you suspended your disbelief? And then I told him about like the spoiler thing, and he was like, oh, so I guess this is more of an in-joke, kind of. Like, it's supposed
to... There's a reason for it.
There's a reason for it, is because it's the ROT13, it's spoilers, blah, blah, blah. And he was like, well, that's fine. Then I was like, thank you. I didn't want to figure out an actual cipher.
Yeah, it was like, have a new one, but like, I have to do. Like,
I don't know how to even start with making a cipher, so that makes me very happy that it passes the test.
Nice.
But it's also another thing that's really interesting about playtesters, is that sometimes you're just like, oh, and then they found like a plant, and then I have my plant friends like, what plant?
That's not what that is. Like,
this type of plant would not grow in here.
Oh, so... even that, even that, like, that wouldn't grow there. Like, and you're saying this is a real place, so
yeah.
What's that doing there?
Yeah. So it's kind of the equivalent. I keep thinking about that when I see someone like being like, this is not how it would be. Where there was like, I think a whole Reddit of people being like, well, I was really liking this movie, but then they showed this very specific type of AC in the background. But this movie takes place in the 80s, and this type of AC would not be happening in the 80s. And actually, it wouldn't even sound like that. So they didn't even use like the right Foley for it. And I'm like,
I mean,
we can't know anything, but that's great.
I can be like that with like video games or something, like that when it's meant to be set in an era and they're playing the wrong thing, or when they're sitting there and they're just holding and using a controller completely wrong. Like they're sitting there like going like that, and it's like a game where it's just a car driving, and you're like, Why would you be doing this?
There was a book.
Takes you out of it.
I can't remember the name of the book, but that was very much about a romance between two people that were in game development, and there was a really famous book.
I've heard of that. Apparently, it's a very good book. I forget the name of it as well, but I was also told you should read this. And
so the only thing I don't remember what the book is about. The only thing I remember from it is that's not how indie game is.
Well, this is a problem. Yeah, this is
so it didn't work for me.
Yeah, if they're like, I go into my big office with our huge and an indie.
It was a little bit like that. From what I vaguely remember is that it was like, oh yeah, and we got like $3 billion to make this indie game that is just Mario 64, and I'm like,
if you got $3 million, I'd be pretty excited. Like,
I would be pretty.
Really big budget we're dealing with here, boys.
$3 million to make a Mario 64, like, sure.
Mario 64.
Yeah.
That's well, just for an indie game. If I said it had a budget of $3 million, I'd be like,
well, are you still an indie game? You're a pretty good indie game.
I'd just be like, that's a lot bigger of a budget than I'm used to seeing.
Exactly. It's like, wow. And you're on the front page of the New York Times. That's amazing.
Okay. It
was a little bit like that, where it's like, I don't think that's what indie game, like,
this
I don't
think relate to the world I actually live in. Yeah.
But I think there was one, I do remember it was one part where I was like, okay, that actually would be true, where they give an example of like a game that they would give for like a game development assignments in school or something. Yeah. And I was like, yes, that is absolutely what a student would do.
Oh yeah, like a student
actually
would
this one is actually so true. This is the kind of artsy bullshit that you would give at school.
Where
yes.
If you're a student, 100%.
Correct.
You pick a really artsy game that you're like, this is the perfect example of the medium and the form, and you're like, well, it is good, but like you'll probably get older and find that within other things, and
that's why being knowledgeable about certain things is a blessing and a curse. And that's why when I was in animation, a bit that people like in the animation school, people would often say, oh, it's so hard to be in animation and to actually know how animation works, because now you notice the mistakes all the time in animation things.
Like just watching anything, you're like,
yeah. And it's kind of the same thing in game development, where now I can't really enjoy playing video games anymore because I'm like, well, I wouldn't have done it like that.
There's little things even on my end where I see, like, you can go on the Xbox store, for example, and sometimes the files will be like, you'll go to a trailer and you'll notice that it's got a name next to it, and it's like trailer _ developer _ thing, and you're like, they didn't go
I wouldn't
into
do
the
that.
Little... Well, it's just like they just didn't know.
Yeah,
it's an obtuse system, but they didn't go into the box and change it. Like, so we've all made that mistake.
Well, if you're just a player, you don't even pay attention to those things, and you're like, I'm just having a good time. I cannot have just a good time anymore.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
My brain has to be engaged. An analytic brain.
The big thing for me on that side is always the thing where you read reviews or feedback or anything from players where they'll tell you this game doesn't have this thing, and it would just be so simple for you to just do
the reverse, where like it would be so hard.
And it's like, do you know how hard it was just to get this? To get what you've got now? Like, are you aware of the amount of work it took for people to get it here? I didn't do it, but I watched them do it for like a year. Like, if you expected triple the size of this.
Well, the game would have been better if instead of being a third-person shooter, it should have been a first-person shooter, and that seems easy for me to fix. And it's like,
how hard would it be for this?
Just make a whole nother game,
double the content. You're like, quite. It turned out like
quite a bit.
This wasn't a choice that we went. We could make so much more of this in a way that would be fun and engaging to all of you and would make sense to the game we want to make. Yeah. Because that's the other part of it, where it's like, well, that's not the game. The weirdest thing when people will give you feedback of like, well, why isn't it like this? And you're like, because that's not the video game that was made. Like,
that's
play another one. Like,
that's why I'm glad there's some. So I'm glad there's some art forms that I don't know anything about, like music. Yes. I don't know anything about music, so I'm like, yay, nice music.
Just listen to it. Yeah, you can just listen to it. Like, I'm nerdy about
just enjoy.
Music, but like I don't make it. Like I can play the drums, but like I can't listen to a bit of music and genuinely know what production problems are happening that's making it sound X, Y, or Z. That I do know some people that, and I've had some stuff pointed out to me when people are like, do you not know about the loudness wars? Or like, and I'm like, the loudness wars? And they're like, yeah, it was like in this era where suddenly everyone put a ton of compression on music and decided that what made it better was just the waveform looked like this and there was no dynamics. And then from that knowledge, though, I've gone and listened to stuff from that time and been like, oh yeah, it does sound like that. Doesn't and it's ruined it.
You've ruined it. That's
exactly.
There's one thing I'm not training myself on, and it's telling the difference between a game that's at 30 FPS and 60 FPS.
Not worth it.
Because the only time I hear about it is that they get mad at it.
Yeah, they're like, this was only running. What always gets me is when people are like, I this barely runs and all I'm getting is 60. I'm like, 60's fine. Like, I'm like,
it's more than fine.
Good.
Listen, I'm used to 24 frames per second and 12 frames per second in animation. I can tell the difference, but at anything more than 24 frames per second, I'm happy. In anything.
Like, I have
so
a
much
TV
work.
that is only 60 hertz. So like anything above 60, I'm not even going to see it. So I'm
exactly.
Like, 60's fine.
So I'm leaving my eyes exactly the way they are.
Exactly. Like I don't want to know the difference. Like I don't want to see the difference, so it ruins it. But yeah.
Exactly.
Anyway, we should wrap up on that.
Yes.
Before we do, is there anything you want to leave the people with, other than obviously they should go and check out Truth Scrapper?
They should go and check out True Scrapper. They should go and check out Fields of Mysteria. What else did I... Obsession is a really good movie.
I don't know. What I was about to say, I don't know anything about it. I do know plenty about it because I've seen people talking about it and I've seen the trailers, but like I've not seen it. Like, is it
real good movie?
Yeah,
especially for what again it goes on my list of like how crazy can people get for love?
Well, that's
Let
like
me
kind
take
of the
some
idea,
notes.
right? Yeah, like it's like I want someone to be completely obsessed with me, and it's like the sort of monkey paw, like they're obsessed with you. Like
it's a really good movie, and the actress who plays the one who's obsessed with the guy, she's so good. Like she's so scary, and she's worth the movie all on her own. So highly recommend it if you like spooky movies, which I have become a person who likes scary movies now, so you know you can do anything.
Were you not before? Like
no, I hated scary movies.
I'm not. Like I
they're
don't
scary.
Like scary. Yeah, that's how I feel.
Yeah.
Like I'm like, why would I want to be scared? Like scared is bad.
I think what made me more interested is that I realized that in the same way that meta games are really taking advantage of like breaking the fourth wall and breaking your expectation on what a game is like. This is how horror movies scare you, is by breaking your expectations of what a movie is like, on how people are supposed to move, on how a story is supposed to go. And so that kind of made me way more interested in horror, because the acting is different. And that's what makes it scary. The way that they subvert expectations on where a story is supposed to go is scary. Like it's all of those things. That's why it's making me really interested. That's why I really liked Obsession in particular, is that it did some things with the way that it was filmed and the way that the characters were acting that I don't really see in movies in general. It was the same thing with Backrooms, where it did some really interesting things in terms of like jump scares, because they weren't really jump scares, and that's what made them unsettling, because you're like, that should have been a jump scare and you're just acting like it's a part of the scenery. And so yeah, I can't do super gory things. I go like this if it's happening. But when it comes to movies that are not gory, then I'm interested. And then even for stuff that's gory, I've been slowly trying to look a little bit, just to be like, okay, but clearly that's not real though. So let me see if I can train my eye to realize that this is not real, and try to see how would they do this special effect to make it look so real. That's been helping a bit, but not enough to watch an actually gory movie. Yeah.
Yeah. That's interesting as well, that it's the subversion, because I've always thought that about jokes, like basic comedy.
Yes.
And the thing that
they're very similar things.
This is what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Like, not all the time, but a lot of the times a thing that makes you laugh is just that someone says something that you didn't expect them to say after the thing they first said. And it's like, and that is a point of laughter. Like whatever it is, that is a sort of boiled down, not all jokes, not all comedy, but like a sort of gag. That's part of it. So yeah, that's interesting. That it is that kind of thing with horror.
And also, it's about the manipulation. How do you manipulate the player or the viewer? And I'm always taking notes. I'm taking notes.
Yeah, exactly the same with a joke. Half the time you're taking people down to a logical thought, and then it's like, no, and that's the comedy. Yeah, like, yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
I'd never thought of horror that way. So yeah, because I'm very much the same, where I'm like, but scary. I don't like to be scared.
I don't watch them on my own. I watch them with people, and then we talk the whole time.
That makes sense.
And that's so that also really helps. So anyway, watch Obsession. That was a really good movie.
Yeah, so that is something to check out. Thank you all for watching and for listening. Do go and check out True Scrapper on Steam if you haven't already, because the demo's up there. Give it a wish list if you like the look of it. And we'll be back next time with more corners to sit in. Not more corners, the same corner.
The same corner. Maybe arranged a little differently, but still the same corner.
Take care, everybody. Bye.